Without even realizing it, we have such definitions and fixed points of view with our bodies about what they are, about what their contribution is, or what their lack of contribution is, and what they should be and what they shouldn't be. And all of these things are judgments. What occurs in body whispering is the shit show called your life starts to transform. What it really changes is the rest of your existence. It's time to change that your life could ever go there again.
What if we are far greater than we give ourselves credit for? This is the Possibility Explorer podcast. My name is Dr. Dain Heer, and I would like to welcome you to an ADHD adventure of life hacks.
Here's the beauty of what's been occurring lately is the class whispers, but it doesn't shout until it starts, which is kind of an interesting thing because before I used to be like, oh, this class, like I could get a sense of it energetically. And what's occurring now is it is like a whisper until the friggin' thing starts. And then it's like, and with personalities being able to change, personality is one of the biggest things we have ever gotten to. And you'll see around the world, as you start to explore the personality conversation, you'll see around the world where pretty much every limitation anybody is functioning from is a personality. And then when you realize that, but then you realize we have these tools to unlock it and change it, it's glorious. And I want to point, there's a couple things I want to point out here, since we're talking about the class. And one is the amazing thing to me about body whispering classes is you think what it will change probably has something to do with your body. And it does that. It gives you, and especially with personalities, we even have a body process for undoing personalities out of the body. So it does that. But what it really changes is the rest of your existence. Because we have such, without even realizing it, we have such definitions and fixed points of view with our bodies about what they are, about what their contribution is, or what their lack of contribution is, and what they should be and what they shouldn't be. And all of these things are judgments, and a huge amount of them are based on personalities. And what occurs in body whispering is the shit show called your life starts to transform. And if we can acknowledge the last 3 years have been a fucking shit show, okay, on all kinds of levels. And the thing that I, talk to people about is like, how many times have you had some lightness and then it feels like it transforms into a heaviness, an inconsolable heaviness that you can't get rid of? And that's what we're in the midst of changing right now. And so anybody who's actually drawn to the class, it's like, it's time to change that shit. It's time to change your life being a shit show. It's time to change that your life could ever go there again. And when the next pandemic comes around that they're going to try to make, and they're going to try to create it worse, how about instead of suffering through it and barely getting through it and then going beyond it a bit, etc., what if you don't suffer anything ever again? We should not be suffering. We should be thriving no matter what anything outside of us throws at us. And it's interesting because our bodies show us this if we're willing to listen. And they also show us every area in which we've been suffering and every area in which we've been making something real that doesn't have to be real for us. And the idea that suffering has to be real is the biggest fucking lie we've ever bought. Now, the interesting part is, one of the things I love to do is look around the little Zoom, and see all the sweet faces that look like they're on the Brady Bunch, because there's all of them. The Brady Bunch, and look around and recognize, how things land in people's worlds. And you can only get a certain sense of that. Most of it is an energetic awareness, but you realize that so many of us have been thinking how to do everything, how to change everything, including our bodies. And our bodies don't think. Our bodies don't require thinking. Thinking is a very crude way of navigating the world. And it's like you can navigate the world from concrete blocks, which is what thinking is, or you can navigate the world from a sensitivity, which is an energetic awareness of every subatomic particle contributing and receiving, which, Einstein said every molecule has consciousness and every subatomic particle has consciousness. And what happens is there are these things that we can talk about, which is quantum entanglements. It's a concept of science talks about it because they can only find one molecule that they can do this with, or one subatomic particle that's connected to another one on the other side of the planet, let's say. And when one moves, the other one moves, but faster than the speed of light. Well, that's, science is only able to address one subatomic particle at a time. Consciousness addresses all of them. Consciousness is where everything is included and nothing is judged. So our connection with the universe, and it's something our body shows us that we ignore, and then our body tries to point it out and tries to point out where we're not being the being that we can be. And that's what starts to create stiffness and pain and disease and blah, 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 the things that we would like to change. And it's because we're functioning from operational entanglements into the cult of personality, basically, which is a new thing that we've been discussing. And I'm sure there will be more from here. But it's like rather than quantum entanglements, which is where we are minutely aware of the movement and the space of everything, every subatomic particle that we're willing to be aware of and connected to, we act like we have this operational entanglement with all the solidities of reality. And our body's been telling us, our body's been showing us, our body's been inviting us, our body's been saying, hey, you who thinks you're so cool because you're a being. Hey, you who thinks I'm less because I'm a body. I actually have a lot of awareness for you if you just fucking listen, asshole. Well, let's look at a few things, okay? One is when you get into that state, that fight or flight, that's when you'll fight other people. That's when you'll fight against, because that is what you've defined as survival mode. And you will fight to survive. And that's where a lot of people have been for quite a while, especially, I say again, the last few years. It's an interesting thing to be in my particular position as a facilitator who gets to interact with a lot of people around the world and see the degree to which we've chosen that as our reality, really. And the degree to which we know there's something different, but we don't seem to either believe we can access it or allow ourselves to, or, and this is the crux of this whole fighting thing, is we entrench ourselves in this, because if it's for our survival, whatever it takes, we need to go down that road. And the difficulty is we have so many people with such blinders on to the possibilities of receiving and joy and gratitude and just general yumminess with our lives and our bodies. What other choices do we have available rather than, hey, body, what do you know? Like, what can you show us about how wonderful it can be to be alive? What we gravitate toward is, okay, who else do I need to fight? What else do I need to fight? What else do I need to look for? And that hyper paranoid point of view is not creating more for us as beings. And so what our body seems to be inviting us to is this beauty of an abundant living that is beyond our logical capacity to fathom, but fully within our capacity to grasp and choose as beings. Your being has awareness. Your being has actual question. But the way a being works is when it asks a question, what it's doing is it's opening up to receive a different space. What personality does, so your being is aware of a new space being available. Your being goes into action to ask, basically to ask to receive, ask and you shall receive. And then what happens is our personalities then take it over, try to understand it, try to figure it out, try to figure out what the structure is and what the structure is that we're going to need to do and what the structure is we're going to need to do differently and what we're going to have to kill and what we're going to have to keep, what we're going to have to change, what we're going to have to choose, and by the time we allow the personalities to take over, our being has been shoved to the side by our own choice. And I didn't mean to shortcut you or short circuit you. It's that even like with the exact question you were asking, this is more the answer than an answer that satisfies our personalities and our operational entanglements into the cult of personality. And so, in a very dynamic sense, what then becomes available to us as a way of accessing everything we desire is rather than going down this road of personality and figuring out and understanding it and blah, 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 and what do I need to do? And we've been doing that for so long. I mean, for fucking ever, basically. So what can help a lot is, and by the way, it's always okay to ask any question. Always, 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 always ask. Okay. But when we recognize it, what we can do is back up, back up, back up. Because what happens is there's a moment most times where our being is enthused, our being is looking for awareness, different awareness information, and our being goes, okay. And then what happens is right after that, we go, oh, and twist it into personality. And if we're willing to, and this applies so dynamically with our bodies, if we're willing to, we can back up to the moment where it went from yay to no way, space to, the death race, and probably all kinds of other things that rhyme. I'm sure I could come up with more rhymes if you need them. Okay, you're welcome. I'm here for you, people. If we can go and recognize that moment where it goes into us trying to figure anything out or understand it. And this has been one of the difficulties, of course, with the whole idea of body whispering, which is trying to understand the how. Well, the how is to recognize that before the how is a thing called you that already knows everything beyond the how. So the how is, and there can be the how, but it starts to take on a totally different flavor. And if we'll ask being or personality, when we go from this to this, and all you got to do, and I would suggest this not only for everything with your body, but for everything with everything about everything and anyone about anything that is not ease, joy, and glory. And I am on a fucking mission at this point because this is a thing that will create the biggest bang for the buck for all of us, personality or being. And as part of the other answer to the how, where people say, well, how do we do this? Which of course is understandable. That's not a wrong thing to ask. But to the degree that I can facilitate you in going beyond the limited of the how to the unlimited of what's actually going to actualize it, that's my target. And yeah, hopefully I'll start speaking English soon for those of you that are actually interested in hearing a word that I've said. But this is the thing. And so part of the other how of this actually, and it's what the whole class is based on, it's actually what the book is based on, is it's the energetics of the moment that we can open up together. And you can't put words on that. People, it's so funny because if you're doing any class or anything and somebody hasn't been there and experienced it and they want to know, or somebody asks you, I've been, you've been there, what's it like? And you're like, well, I'd love to tell you, but ain't no way of describing this particular miraculous space in words, and so it's an interesting thing. So how about we do, I'm just going to do a quick um real quick little energy thing that also we do in class. Also, I'll definitely be doing in this class. Little thing I like to call ESB, energetic synthesis of being. So what I'd like to do is, if I may, see, the only thing I can do is what we're willing to have. I'd love to say, oh, I will raise my hands and I will do everything, that, whatever I want, but it doesn't work that way. Damn it. But what I would like to do is open a door. Sorry, my ADHD kicks in all the time. What I like to do is open a doorway for a bit more space for you and your life and your body, to where your body doesn't have to shout quite so loud to get your attention because you're so focused on the stressors of reality. See, because depending on what it is, like the body whispering class, with 3 days together, we've got a unique sort of presence with whatever is showing up, and a way of sort of doing more of a deep dive and a clean out of different things and an invitation to different things. With a half an hour together, that that what becomes available just based on the nature of the timing of it is a different kind or different space of contribution. So for me, if I can be with you for a bit and contribute, the thing that I know, and this is the last thing I wanted to say, is that I used to think that in order for you as a receiver of the facilitation, in order for you to get what you were asking for, in order for me to gift what I was doing my best to gift, that had to package it and you had to understand it, and then you had to cognitively get it, and then you had to let it in, and then we had to change everything that didn't allow it. And that was operational entanglements of magnitude, and that was a lot of personality stuff, because it's our personalities that make us want to be saving people, and it's also what tells us how we have to go about it. So our personalities activate everything that makes us want to do something that's not possible, and then it tells us how, and then it tells us afterwards that we didn't do it because we didn't do it perfectly enough. It's awesome. Thank you, best non-friend. Thank you, best frenemy in the world.
One of the things I know is that we all have different possibilities available to us. In the past few years, many people seem to believe that possibilities are evaporating, that they're disappearing, that we have fewer possibilities than we've ever had. But what I found, from my weird perspective, is that possibilities are just getting started, and they're available for any of us who are willing to seek them out. We are far greater than we give ourselves credit for. It's just that nobody has ever actually seen us. Nobody's ever really looked into our eyes, seen the gift of that beautiful creature in there and said, I see you. I see the gift of you. And I know you may not get it right now. I know you may not believe it right now. But you, my beautiful friend, are a gift, and phenomenal possibilities await. Hence, the Possibility Explorer podcast. My name is Dr. Dain Heer, and I would like to welcome you to an ADHD adventure of life hacks.
All that's required is opening a different door. Mm-hmm. And gift as much as I possibly can to allow that to be actualized as your world in the whatever time or space we have together. But what I started recognizing that I didn't get before is how dynamically capable each of us is. And that we will get there. We will find our way if we just don't give up and if we just don't stop. And so I want to say that to y'all, whatever it is you've been asking for, just don't give up. Just don't stop. Keep using the tools. Keep asking questions. Keep potting. Keep tapping into everything that inspires you or brings you lightness at all. And all you got to do is you just keep going in that direction. Everything will work. I know it's weird. I know it sounds too fucking easy, and I totally concur that it sounds too easy. But I found that that's actually the way it works. And same thing with our bodies. And the other thing I want to say, especially since I brought up the shit show of the last 3 years, and the shit show a lot of people think is still ongoing and that they perpetrated on themselves, damn it. I wish we didn't feel compelled to do that anymore. And I'm doing every fucking thing I can to help people change it. But yeah, that just take 2 more steps. But I want to say it always is darkest right before the dawn. Please get this. Please, please, please. If there were ever a time to not give up, now's the time. And I say that on a personal level because some of the things I've seen and thought and whatever, and this particular class I'm getting to facilitate right now, the one last weekend was beyond anything I've ever seen. This weekend is 10 times beyond anything that could have ever been. And what that lets me know, because I've been facilitating this stuff for 24 years, is don't quit now, please. The doors we have been opening are right fucking there and they're fucking unlocked. And all we have to do is recognize which door we want to push open. There are no locked doors anymore if we don't block them. So I'm hoping you might get a bit of a sense of that and just don't quit, please. Now is the time to keep going. And the other thing is, as far as sort of access wide, whenever we get to some of the biggest major changes we're about to get to, right before that, usually all kinds of people leave. And then they try to make you wrong and they do all this sort of stuff. And it's so interesting because for 24 years, I've had a charge on that because I care so much about people. I don't want any, dissent and discord and all that sort of stuff. And now, one of the greatest gifts of what's opening up now, beautiful you, there doesn't have to be a charge about anybody choosing anything. It's just choice. And it doesn't have to limit you anymore. And it doesn't have to limit us anymore. And it doesn't have to be significant anymore. And so when you ask, like, how do we do what we do? A huge amount of it is this space that we get to be. And notice if after just a few minutes together right now, is your space different? And the way all of this works, all of it, is by acknowledging what is, by being what is. There is no truer statement in the world than what's true makes you lighter. A lie makes you heavier. And what we are finally getting to is exposing and undoing the lies on a level that I wasn't sure we would ever get to. On a level that as you experience it, it becomes very palpable. But before experiencing it, you can't fathom that it could be as easy as it's becoming. You can't fathom that you could not have the problem that you're supposed to have with this and that and the other thing and the money thing and the body thing and the people thing and the reality thing and the earth thing and the future thing and the politics thing and you can't fathom that. Oh, okay, hello everything. What can I be? We literally, how do I know I can't fathom it? Because I've been looking to fathom the ease, joy, and glory of what's possible for 24 years. And until it shows up, you can't even fathom that it can be that dynamic and that full and that beautiful. Also, our bodies are showing us this, which is one of the other really interesting things. Our bodies are actually getting on board in a really dynamic way. And some of you know a lot of people who've been having a lot of body shit. One of the things I know, once again, in getting to be connected to and aware of all kinds of people and hear what's going on for all kinds of people, our bodies are part of this journey. And when things occur with a similar vibration like they have for the last several weeks with people in their bodies, I know our bodies are showing us something that it's time to unlock, that we as beings can unlock, and that our bodies are contributing this beautiful gift to us. So what it really boils down to is what I'm going to say this, and then ask a question, but what it really boils down to is, what space would you like to live? And what will contribute to that the most? Whatever that is, choose that. If living with lightness is available now, why not choose it? Why keep suffering as though that has value like we thought it did for so long? What if it doesn't? And how much fun can we have? And you notice I seem rather, calm. It's not just calm. It is calm, but it's like there's such a beautiful space opening up with everything for all of us. This beautiful space is not mine alone. It's ours. It's us when we're being us. And the other thing I want to really point out, because we did some beautiful stuff in the ESB class today that I want to share with y'all energetically, and then I'll shut up. You don't have to be separate anymore from everyone and everything that is and can be a contribution. We've been doing this through this thing called operational entanglements, which is a bastardization of quantum entanglements that was sold to us as a greater version of oneness that actually means that you're always part of the structure and feeling separate and alone. But if you can just do it perfectly enough and give totally into this reality enough, then you won't feel alone. You'll only feel appropriately connected through all the judgments. And it's like, oh my God, everything that is, everything you bought, everything you've been perpetrating on you and enforcing against you in your body, and everywhere you have made it that you were on the outskirts of consciousness and possibilities, and all this weird shit we talk about as though it can't contribute to you the way it does for others. Also, we found this pyramid scheme thing today where the idea was the person at the top of the pyramid could have miracles, and the people down lower could have fewer miracles. But the way it works is you see people, quote unquote, above you in your own point of view that are higher up in the pyramid, and they can have miracles. But also, you have people that you have more miracles than. And the way it works is there's a miracle quotient and a miracle quota, to where if these people below you, quote unquote, have more miracles, or somebody you're connected to, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, somebody you work with or whatever, if they're having miracles and ease, you have to diminish yours so there's not too many miracles in the world. And if somebody up above is having more miracles than you, well, of course they'll have more miracles than you, so you have to diminish yours so there's not too many miracles in the world. I was like, oh my God, it's like a double-sided pyramid that we all put ourselves into and act like it's real and true, so that we do not get together and all be miraculous. And the way that shows up for you is if you're watching or listening to something like this and you're like, yes, and you'll go, oh, this person, they're miraculous, and you start feeling separate from it rather than inspired by it. That's awesome. I love this. In the reset, you talked about writing how we felt, and 6 months later, we read what you wrote. I've been reading my notes. I'm truly in another place. Yay. Because that's one of the things I suggest doing is like, hey, if you set an alarm for a few months from now and go, hey, what has changed from this? Because you don't recognize what has changed in the moment because you're part of the change changing. A few months from now, you look back, you go, oh my God, I'm the one with my choices that created that change. And you can no longer deny the gift that you are. So back to the miracle pyramid scheme that you've all been pretending you're part of. Everything that is, all the personalities, all the cult of personality, all the operational entanglements, creating a place where, wow, where you diminish the nonstop miracles you actually know should be possible and are possible. Oh, my great pleasure. I'm going to point something out. I'm just getting started, but after 24 years of busting my ass, and I know a lot of you have too. And I know a lot of you think you don't do enough and you're never choosing enough, and personality or being, you and what you've been choosing has been a contribution that has gotten all of us to where the starting gates are finally open. And the starting gates are not just open for me. And one of the greatest gifts is they're open for you too. They're open for all of us. Let's fucking go. Thank you. And thank you all so much. See you guys soon. Okay, bye.
This is Dr. Dain signing off from the back of a fire-breathing dragon, soaring into the unknown. Remember, you have to leap in order to know you have wings.